We'll find out.
Also like to report. All righty. Sit on the graciously coming back. Okay. Let's read the rest. Picture the wheel. Picture the wheel. Picture the wheel. Let's not jump.
Oh, I know it is, but I can
Yes. Say you wish to be able to teach you. Oh, yeah.
You got it hooked up.
I'm missing.
You need some extra time there. Did you get all that hooked up? Yes, good. Okay, go on. Okay, take care. Take one and pass it back, over, left, and right. That's my little inquiry there, my brother.
I'll catch you next time.
Me and Negro come late.
Okay, I'll catch you next time, my brother.
No, that's not supposed to be in there.
And what else you want us to do to it, Brother Freeman? Other than between the elements, the signs by the symbols, and the planet names by the symbols? It's got to check my signs. I mean,
Check things up a little bit. Yeah. Let's look at that. You got the first part. That's the last part there. That's the first part.
Someone in this second part, your first part.
is it phase of signs of life? You got that. You got that.
I think I chopped off Aries up there. So we'll review it. Okay, let's see how well you did. Let's see. What else did we do in that? Can everybody see that much of it? I'm hiding the glyphs, but I want to see if you. What's a glyph? Never mind. Okay, here's what you should have. The sign in the glyphs. What do you? Yeah. Okay. Now, if you're filling out all of them, you didn't know nothing. These must be memorized. These are the human beings. Wherever you go, you shall meet one of these 12 people. This gives you one up on the academic scholar student from Morehouse and other status quo colleagues that don't even know what their 30 degrees mean. But most importantly, it gives you a rapport with people that allows you to control the conversation and be effective and influential and helpful all at the same time when you know who you're talking to. As you study this subject matter, you begin to notice certain characteristic traits about each sign. When you meet Taurus, they'll have slanted eyes, a broad nose. Even if they're white, they'll have a broad nose. Not all of them, because some folks are more influenced by their ascendant in their personality characteristics than they are in the sun sign. You'll begin to notice the gestures of Gemini's hands. They can't keep their hands still while they're talking. If you know you're talking with Gemini, you don't argue with Gemini. Gemini likes to talk. It doesn't matter if they're right or wrong, they just like to talk. If you got something to do, don't stand there engaging with Gemini for 35, 40 minutes because they're getting off on you. You know, go and do what you have to do. But most importantly, you can be helpful to people. Last night, Bernice King was on one of these late night talk shows. And well, the first time I heard her, she was like dynamic. You know, she sounded like she really was going to bring something forward. This woman is good. 18 steps back, away from being a pioneering female black minister with some new age knowledge. It's amazing how that happens. But the people she mentioned as respecting show or indicate why she's not going to take a quantum leap forward. Andy Young, you know, and her mom, who is a part of the caveman cycle. You know,
I didn't want to say that.
Who don't want to grow. He wants to die and get up there with Martin is to see what he doing. And that's unfortunate. This is a woman obviously born for a new level, you know, and she doesn't. And she knows that she didn't mention it last night. Let me put it that way. I never try to cornerize what somebody knows or don't know. I don't know what everyone knows or don't know. They can only go by what they make reference to. She talked about the black child and the black child in trouble. But all she talked about was morals and ethics. She didn't mention the word identity as a problem once. It tells me she's not on target. She's on her way to target. But I'm sure one of her white constituents sidetracked it, because that's what happens when you're trying to be fair. The black seeking mind is looking for its truth. You can't be fair. You got to go direct to the center of identity. Remember, I used to sit in the arcade reading every day. Huh?
Being fair to yourself.
It's being more than fair. You're focusing. You know, but in terms of this culture, being fair is consider all of God's children and half of demons, both black and white. But the idea is to find a directive that allows you to unveil the hidden reality about people who are disoriented, who are psychologically in the dark about who they are, what they are, and where they are. And that includes most especially our children, who are acting out this unfortunate disorientation. And anyone who's near or on target, I've got to talk about the fact that we still don't know who we are and how relevant that is to the brain mind. And she didn't get anywhere near that. And I really like and respect this young girl for having at least the courage from a Baptist background to step out and be a female minister. Mm-hmm. How many black women from the Baptist church are ministers, man? You know, that was a quantum leap. But somebody slowed her down. You know?
I think she sits on the male minister within the church.
Oh, is that right? Yeah, well, that's all right. Actually, she should have her own church like Barbara's got, with too many black women in there. She's gone on with this inner urge that insisted that she ministered. You know, her spirit wants her to minister. But she's following in the footsteps of, just like Michael Luther King followed in the footsteps of, and this is high mark, a visionary for the present age. Instead, he became a preacher and almost became a prophet. But that's what he was destined to become. It's in his chart. I did his chart. The man has about 5 mastership numbers in his chart, and he changed his name from Michael to Mark.
Your grandfather.
No, he did. He changed his name from that of the likened unto God to that of a martyr, and then followed a martyr on a religious path. So, yeah.
Can't we, like you said, be honest and deal with our truth without being rude? Because, I mean, I don't call it being rude when you're dealing with your truth.
Well, you're not being rude. The only time truth is rude is when the person you're talking to doesn't want to hear it.
Mm-hmm.
Then you're being rude.
Yeah.
So
You don't insist.
no, don't.
The seeker of truth does not insist upon winning the argument. You let the believer win his or her argument. Truth demonstrates itself. Truth is power manifested in symbology and language. The truth is the power that transforms us. That's why it's important to know truth, not to believe it.
But then if that statement is true, then what was wrong with her presentation? If she was trying not to...
There was nothing wrong with her presentation for that half hour to whom she was speaking to.
Okay.
In my mind, I'm seeing a young lady with greater potential that she's reflecting.
Okay. Looking at the act.
That she's of a new age, not her father's age,
Right.
not her grandfather, not her, and definitely not her mom. You see? But she thinks she must somehow be obligated to carry on in the tradition of. See? And Dr. King, Malcolm X, marked a demarcation line of the end of a civic rights era. That's the end of it. It's not about civic rights. It is about divine right. In order to express divine right, you must have power and knowledge.
Of yourself.
Yes. Now she was very correct in stating that government can't give a people what they need to be free or to be equated with equality. Yeah. There's no such thing as human equality.
Right.
Hell, I'm taller than everybody in here. You see? And them two ladies prettier than I am. Three ladies. Yeah. See? There is this division of balance for each human being.
The proportion there.
The right of civil opportunity is where civic rights take place. But in terms of equality, they don't look for it. What you're trying to do is get to the equal stature of your own spiritual height. That's where your equality is.
But let me ask, what is the chemistry of making sure you share and be shared with?
But making sure that you share
And be shared with.
well, in a civilized order of things, the opportunity provides you with an avenue of cultural and human expression. That there should be no inhibiting laws preventing you from expressing your spiritual right to unfold. That's the center of human existence. The legalities are man imposed. The universe do not impose legalities. We got caught up in what their denial of our human rights are. And what we were unable to do was to find the point of purpose, to clarify the meaning of self. So we had to react to what they were denying us. That's how we got caught up. That civil rights became more important than divine right. In fact, there was no discussion of divine right in the Negro colored church. That came a little bit later. So this science, as Moorish science, tells you how and what is to be a point of freedom for human beings. Nobody has your freedom. You have it.
Amen.
Unfold it. Well, when you get to that height, those that denied you turn around to serve you. And this is very, very important for all of us, not just the black woman, but at this point in conversation, the importance of the black woman having her spirituality intact prevents the insanity of her man from abusing and taking advantage of her. Trying to love with your emotions will get you in wild, chaotic, neurotic, psychotic trouble.
True.
Anywhere in the world, a man can slap a woman, punch, stomp on a woman, then take her to bed, and have her say the next day, I love it.
That's
a psychotic problem. That's sadomasochistic in its relationship. It should not be. That's unnatural. So when she discovers that she has the power of love emanating in her heart chakra, something inwardly tells her abuse is wrong. And that the power within her will no longer allow her to tolerate it. Then she either gets hacked, or the spirit hands her something to get his ass with. And hand her something while he laying there asleep. Get his butt beat real good, because y'all used to wait till the Negro went to sleep and cook him a pot of hot grits. That's a terrible punishment, but I tell you one thing, the ones that got the grits ain't beating up my women no more. That's a strange thing for a black man beat up his woman and then lay down beside her and go to damn sleep. He ought to get a pot of grits on his butt.
Also say disassociate yourself from foolishness.
Right, that's in a nutshell, disassociating oneself from foolish thinking. You can't disassociate yourself from foolishness, it is all around. But you certainly can disassociate yourself from foolish thinking. That attracts foolish-minded men or foolish-minded women. Now, we got some women out there that's some demons, and we're trying to unlearn the things that inhibit and limit us and gain the power that really makes us lords of the earth. That's the work you do. When you step into this arena, you're changing consciousness as to whether you know it at that moment or not. This is not a social, cultural input. This bookstore does not represent entertainment. This represents growth, development, and power is what this room represents. So you're not an ordinary colored Negro American. If you've been in here once, this one time means you're on the verge of changing. And a lot of them step in and out, because they don't really know where they are. But you're on your verge towards true change, spiritual change of consciousness. So it's important, these 12 signs gives you an advantage in your world. And the other factor is, do something with this knowledge. Don't memorize, read, study this here, and just sit on it. Go talk to some people. Ask them what their birth sign is. And while they're talking, watch for certain behavioral patterns that tells you, that's Aries. That's Leo. Because each sign tells on itself. I'm standing up here running my mouth, Gemini rising, Sagittarius sun, hands won't be still. Can't shut my mouth, so that you know something about people. The other important issue where this sign becomes a tool of change is with the black child, particularly the black boy who really has become a self-endangered species. Not an endangered species, a self-endangered species, based on the little or lack of self-knowledge, which depreciates his interest and her interest in learning. It is natural for a human being to want to study him or herself. But if the curriculum does not reflect that, so that the child can bounce off the teacher, the instructor, the parent, the babysitter, the kindergarten, or even the nursery. There should be things and toys in the nursery that tells a child about his or herself, not about Pinocchio and a little teddy bear. So that this educare, this drawing out, is an ongoing daily process. Learning is fun. You know, there's nothing dull about it. It's dull when they're talking about somebody else other than you.
Yeah.
Then it should be boring as hell. You know, and the kids should get up and walk out the class when they got a course on all white American history, under the auspices of American history, and ain't nobody black in the book. You know, I want you to just grab your books and get up and walk the hell on out of there. But of course they don't. They're so programmed to authority. Okay, but we want to emphasize, well, did I finish my thought on the black child, the black boy? There's a book published by Jesse and Alvin Poussin in 1973. 1975 or 6, because it was in Detroit, titled Why Blacks Kill Blacks. 128 pages. And it was a book designed to raise money for Operation Breadbasket. It might be around some reference language. Why Blacks Kill Blacks, by Alvin Poussin and Jesse Jackson. And for me at that moment, it was a bright light, because it dealt with a concept that almost seemed a part of psychological vocabulary as a legitimate term: inferiority complex. And the key word that Alvin had placed there, that I had not read anywhere else in several books on human psychology, was the illusion of. An inferiority complex is an illusion. The second term was that of self-hatred, which of course Carl Greer talked about in Black Rage in 1968, which was the revelation of our era. Because at that point we were about to be acknowledged as having a black psychology. And then that was the second book in reference to that. The other one was Black Skin, White Mask by Francis Fanon, an Algerian African. Was a psychoanalyst. It's part of the Algerian Revolution. But his insights is what sparked the fire in Carl Greer, because I quoted it several times. But they did not underline specifically, though those two major points were important. It is, again, the light of self-knowledge, that they weren't there. It's interesting that these four black men were into a search for identification without knowing that they were looking for identity, that they were looking for parts of it in terms of subject matter. But if you can hand a child the tool of self, you can awaken his curiosity. That's what these become. When you ask a boy or a girl, well, when were you born? Oh, you're Leo. You at that moment, you capture that individual's attention almost immediately. A, because it's complimentary. B, because they don't know what it means. So you have an interest to talking with a child about something that child has a natural interest in, him or herself. Don't try to hand morality, ethics, to a mis- or undereducated human being. It's not going to work. The era of morals and ethics are over, because that was an imposed behavior based on guilt. We behave because it was wrong to do otherwise. Now you know that's wrong. Shame on you. Children drop their head. They'll even giggle now. Or shame don't mean nothing. They've outgrown it. That they need reason. So, excellent example. I was working in one of these displaced children's home in Cleveland. And I was talking to this one kid who wasn't what you call a bad kid. This, like most kids, the first put in the spirit of the world, misbehaving for the fun of misbehaving. And I turned to him and I said, behave yourself. Be good. He said, how should I be good? I couldn't answer. He caught me off guard. Couldn't answer.
I noticed that my daughters.
But I should have told him the same thing I would have told his parent. Be good so that you can be God. That's what I should have told him. But at that time, in place of my experience, that didn't click. Somehow we think that truth that we need and helps us is not going to help children. I had the opportunity to speak at a festivity over at Ebenezer Baptist Church. And I thought it was going to speak to teenagers. It turned out that they were the Sunday school kids, little kids, about 20, 25, 30, and they had some South African dancers there who scared these kids in their costume and drums and spears and dancing. You know, the kids crying and running and stuff. So they got past that. I did my lecture. And I gave them the same thing I've been given the Holy Ghost. There are 3 missing keys: identity, self-knowledge, and self-revelation. Because if you got a Bible, and most of them had Bibles, turn to John chapter 10, verse 31. You are God. That's what I told them. Little eyes went like this. It was something. It was quiet as a church had been. And one little kid, I started talking about their names. I said, what's your name, son? Stand up. My name's David. What does David mean? And he stopped. I mean, everything in his little world stopped because he didn't know. And probably for the first time, he hadn't even thought about his name having a meaning. And it's a very important name in Christian theology. Even Christian theologians know that David means beloved. As I said, your name means beloved of God. And went on with the lecture, but I was able to capture these children's conscious attention. And some of them had their Mother's Day. And after the lecture, the Sunday school teacher came up and he didn't shake my hand. He squeezed my hand. He says, brother, whatever you're doing, keep on, keep it on. It's wonderful. Because he didn't know John 10, 31, 36. You know? I don't know what they did. They never invited me back. Whatever they were doing, they had an opportunity to enter the child's life for the child's benefit, not for the benefit of Jesus, not for the benefit of the gospel, not for the benefit of Christianity, but for the benefit of self-knowledge. That's the miracle growth that children need in this cycle. It opens. It allows them not only to have dreams and visions, but to accept it. Every child should have a mystery and a secret given to it by its parent. I told one brother, go whisper in your child's ear a secret. And he did. And that day this little boy strutted around the house, G-O-D. G-O-D. About 6 years old, you know. 6 years old. Rashid, wonderful little kid, very talented. We've got to look at children as souls and not as too young, too small, too ignorant. You know, in demising their status, we're missing the point. That's a soul that's been here before, is on a journey, just like we're on a journey, that is searching for the same central point of identity that we are searching for. Therefore, that child has the same spiritual rights as we have. You don't have to earn those rights. You have to find them. You see? And those rights, no one can take from you. Even if they put you in jail, they still can't take it from you. Sri Aurobindo stayed in one hut 40 years, you know, and wrote 87 books. His body stayed in the hut. They don't tell where he was. You know? So So we understand that the knowledge of self allows us to find freedom and to gain self-control, to be able to influence ourselves. When you think well of yourself, you will take care of yourself. When you think well of others, you will take care of your relationship with others. This science gives us insight to why certain mysterious things happen to us and around us. And one of those is the knowledge of and the information about the moon, which I'm re-emphasizing here because I'm realizing how very important it is. It is the most constant planet in our solar system. It is never out of a sphere of influence and effect on our emotional, mineral, water nature. If anybody happened to tune in 2 days ago to Oprah's show, she really gave some valuable information about, or allowed someone to do so, about the water. Because it slips in the background that we are more water than we are muscle and bone. We are 72-point-something% water. Secondly, this element of water is not a taste bud element. Why most or many people don't drink a lot of water, because it doesn't taste good. And I'm one of those, I'm confessing it. Water is not for these behind the tongue buds. Water is for the body. And when you drink clean, fresh water, you get an inhale and exhalation. If you noted that, how the body breathes, it tastes good to the body. Okay. That's the key in terms of what kind of enjoyment or pleasure one gets past the tongue into the body. It cleanses, washes, and helps to circulate waste from the body. It feeds the body the mineral elements it contains, and it also gives the organs of the body oxygen. Big key. It's really interesting. And what this woman had done, had taken a poll around the country on junior high and high school children to find out how much water they drank per day. She had 5 containers, and the first one was 0 amount. That's how much water children are drinking. If you wonder why their behavior is so erotic, neurotic, and psychotic, and their behavior is erotic, malsexual inclinations. You have children trying to have sex at 10, 11, and 12 years old. That's erotic. They shouldn't even be interested in sex. Even if they see it on the screen, their bodies should not respond to that level of human behavior and human emotion. But they're out of tune. 98.9% of them are sugar junkies. Sugar depletes the system of vitamin B and C. We think with neuron transmitters, those are vitamin B. Essentially 11 major vitamins that we think with. And you can tell when you're depleted when someone scratches on something like a magazine. I remember my first experience. One of the kids came into class and one of the boys scraped his nails across the old-fashioned chalkboard. And this feeling went all through me. 5th, 6th grade. And when kids, when they get new gym shoes, go down the street and go, skirt, skirt, would irritate my nervous system. I had no idea what it was, That's B vitamin deficiency. The nervous system is out of harmony. The reason you can find that out is when you become B vitamin proficient and then make those noise and there's no effect. Much of what ails most people are symptoms of a deficiency of some nutrient vitamins or minerals and natural food elements. Meaning herbal elements, because much of the vegetation we eat are classified with herbal in content. Turnip greens is something that black folks love. We at least used to love. I don't know if it's still, chocolate, put them in there. Sweet potatoes, the candy, African candied yam, which should not be cooked with white sugar. The importance of what I'm getting here, the importance of water, is that it washes the body inside while it feeds the body. Herbs cleanse the body, but it doesn't feed the body. There are certain things that herbs do. There are other herbs that stimulate the nervous system. Your hemmitt, for instance, stimulates the neurons in the brain so much you almost get a spiritual quickening from your hemmitt. If you take too much of it at night, you lay in bed like this. Everything is awake. Everything is awake. It wakes up your nervous system.
All right.
So drink, and I'm one of these old athletes that learned not to drink water because the coach staff that my generation had almost no knowledge about the human body, even though they had a college degree, just as dumb as they could be. We were told not to drink water during practice. So we learned not to drink water. You know? That was like, not for me, 5 days a week. I played basketball 7 days a week, 8, 9, 10 hours a day. I mean, I did that 28 years. So I still got a half gallon of this much of a gallon of water I had 3 weeks. Anywhere else will have a gallon of damn water 3 weeks. And the most water I've drank in the last year of just ordinary water was the day that program was on. I'd sit there and made myself drink 6 glasses of water. And every time I drank a glass, my body, because I was dehydrated. It didn't even know. Dehydration has already started before you experience the taste bud thirst. You've been dehydrated at least 2 days when you feel thirst. You know? A woman in the building there, elder woman about 60 something, was standing by the elevator, said, "I feel weak and queasy and dizzy." And then this was like 3 hours before the program came. I didn't know what to tell the woman, you know. All the woman needed was some damn water. And the first thing, of course, she said, "I guess I better go see the doctor." And all she needed, because everything that she said, the symptoms she talked about, this woman 2 hours later gives under the symptoms of dehydration. You know? The impact of the moon on the physical body is so remarkable. It causes human behavior. Those emotional outbursts that you have, those melancholic mood swings that you have every other day, and some folks all day, they go up and they go down. And they go, particularly Cancer, particularly Pisces, particularly Scorpios, it's fumes. You not say anything, but inwardly they're fuming. Emotional influence of the moon. If you change your thinking, you change those emotional mood swings to positives. That's how you control nature, by your thought. But if you're not conscious of the power of your mind, your mood, emotion, affects your thinking. Because we're essentially glandular beings as human animal bodies. If we have no control over our glandular nature, by the power of our mind, then we're being moved by our glands. We are then the servants of our glands. You are then a slave in Egypt. Because Egypt is the physical body. It is Mizraim, Lord of the earth. So the Hebrew children in Egypt were in the age of bond to their glands, the bond age or bondage. But by the same token, you must be able to go down into Egypt because you're to be called out of Egypt. I shall call my son out of Egypt. Because the mystery of self is in the body, is in Egypt. But it takes power to come out of Egypt, to come out of slavery. Let's take a look at each one of these. I was supposed to do this in a big chart, but I keep leaving my tablet here. Plus I run out of paper too. And there are two stations of the moon, new moon and full moon. Of course, there's a half moon, halfway between. It is the half of being full and being new. New does not mean, as we know, another moon, but a regenerated moon as it moves in its orbit and turns on its axis, it regenerates itself.
Oh, yes. I saw it. Did you see that? Did we ever run around it?
Oh my goodness, it must have been fun. Everybody went off.
You missed it, man.
Full and new, they say that?
No,
Full is full course.
no. Full is when you see the full orb of the moon.
It wasn't full.
There's a place where a passing of the moon between the earth and the sun regenerates the moon, then it reappears as a full orb moon. That's new. New means returning back to its cycle of the 28.5 days it traverses throughout the zodiac. It takes they're saying 29 days, but most astrologers say 28 and a half days for the moon to make a full orbital flight around the planet, returning to what's called perihelion, the point of origin, being the point where you measure it started. We don't know where in the hell the moon started in relationship to the planet, but in calculations you simply put 0 degrees somewhere, so 0 degrees would be 0 degree Aries. That's the point of start, perihelion. That's the point of measure in charting. But the full glowing moon, that's a full moon vibration. And particularly when it varies in its vibration, like when it's red or pink, that's another level of vibration. You can almost feel the love coming from that orb. That's a reflective light from the sun. The moon does not give off a horrendous light. It must have a light energy. There is nothing in existence that does not have light. Because everything has energy. And energy is light. But it does not have the reflective power that it gives us in terms of reflecting the energy rays of the sun. Bouncing off.
Whether Freeman does, the moon in itself has a healing ability, such as the sun.
As a healing vibration. But the healing vibration seems to be more encompassed and intact in the vegetation, in the plants. In other words, by sitting in the moon, you're not going to get healed. Let me put it that way. It stores its rays in our vegetation. Most of us don't stay outside long enough to get a full experience of the energy of the moon. How many of you stayed outside all night? 8, 10, 12 hours. All night. Yes, sir.
I read in a Sirius magazine and someone mentioned about the whole type of this. Yeah, 24
That
tomorrow.
Having what? Eclipse? Lunar eclipse, yeah, right. Yeah, okay, very good. You can, that's an eclipse you can see.
On the 24th.
I wanted to ask question when I first started the class. Where is the sun at today? You may know.
What is the sun?
What time is the sun in today?
Maybe.
Now I know my calendar.
What cycle is this? Right. So what cycle are we in?
Very.
In the fourth seasonal cycle, what cycle are we in? Thank you.
Spring. Okay.
Because the news is saying the 20th of March was the beginning of spring. That is not
That's
sidereal time lunation.
okay.
The 21st is when the sun comes into the area 0 degrees 16 minutes. That's the beginning of spring. That's an extraordinary climate. It's hard either, to deal with that. And our spring started maybe 2 months ago. We ain't had no winter. It's been a real blessing.
Is there any significance to the eclipse and the position of Mars? The same with the eclipse. You were saying that the eclipse was last night. And we were reading in the paper this morning. It said that the way they probably was going to be the night, but that the moon,
The 24th.
the Mars, tomorrow. That Mars is also in a position to be opposite. So that when the eclipse went through, you'll be able to see Mars right above. And I was just wondering if there was any significance.
I don't know. That's a very good question. When a planet opposes another planet in opposition, it usually tends to bring about a challenge rather than a blessing. What we're looking for in astrological computation is triune aspect. That's when the planets give off its harmonic vibrations. In other words, that's when the musician is hitting his best notes. So you look for triune aspects for your positives. But I wanted to point this out. That's when the musician is hitting his best notes. So you look for triune aspects for your positives. But I wanted to point this out. What the difference is in this cycle, this winter, that's the sun. This winter, the sun in the winter solstice moves away from our solar system. Therefore, its rays extend out on a broader scope, which means that the influence of the energy and heat of the sun is not as effective directly on the planet. Okay? As it comes closer to the sun in its orbit, it tends to focus its rays directly on our planet. And like to put the pudding in the pie, or the pie in the pudding. I was sitting on the wall over at my building last summer, one afternoon, and a ray of sunlight from 90 million miles away burned my thigh. Burned it. I mean, I had to jump. It was a ray of light from the sun. 90 million miles away. That's awesome, man. I mean, I did literally burn. I had to jump. Maybe jump off the damn wall. So this cycle brings us more energy. When you get exhausted like this, you're not being drained. You're getting too much energy, and your body cannot absorb it. Okay? So it's not drained. You're filled up. But at the same token, you're also being dried up. Because the sun dries up water. It rained one afternoon, what was that? By McDonald's down here. One afternoon, it rained for about 15, 20 minutes, then stopped. And the clouds moved out of the way. And the sun came along, and you can see the steam coming up on the ground. Less than a minute, dried up this whole sidewalk, man, like that. You can see the steam jumping off the damn sidewalk. The sun is deep, man. But what do they call it? A rock.
Yes.
Really very powerful. Very, very powerful. And it has its orbs of pure love vibration. When the sun turns rosy red, that's the vibration of love. And I had the experience of feeling it one morning around 8 o'clock. Got out of this guy's car and looked up. Man, it was just beautiful. You could feel this stuff coming. The whole planet got some of that. It was something, man. That's all New Age stuff. It's realignment. We're talking a different angle of planetary influence. The other factor I wanted to make sure I have put it on. That's what they're doing. Probably here. And there's no cultural balance with all stuff. Most of the only positive thing that's come out of this whole charade of movies and video mainly has been science fiction, which shows a height of greater technology and power and a vaster environment. That we really live in a solar system, we really live in the universe. Otherwise, and some of even the actors admitted that one program, that 70% of the stuff they're doing is garbage. Every now and then they get a decent manuscript. There's so much rewarding about equal to their talent. But again, they're doing what sells. Okay, let's go through these. So that we remind ourselves of their significance because their influence. Does anybody know where the moon is right now? How many of you don't have this book? Okay. They're going to get some more in. It's a very helpful little guide here, particularly when the sun is in your sign. It is directly relevant because it's going to influence your thinking. What you want to know, how is it going to influence your thinking? That's one of the values of having such information.
Freeman, but does book be more definitive in that particular area?
No, you have information on the moon and each sign in that book too. We don't have any more of those either.
Oh, really?
Oh, well. Maybe one day he'll get too many books up there. We'll have something to sell on Sundays.
Okay, what you said, where is the moon now?
Yes, Jerry.
Can I take a stab at it?
No, take a look at it. This is not a guessing game. Is it in Charles? Isn't it Capricorn? It's in Libra.
Yeah.
And it's still in the second phase. And we want to take a look at these phases so we know what that means. And what's interesting, a moon can remain in a given phase from 5 to 8 days. The moon has been in its second phase since the 15th of March. Came in the 15th on a Saturday. It was in Gemini. Remained in the second phase to to today. And it goes into full moon phase at 11:45 p.m.
Okay.
Now that's according to this.
Doesn't it sometimes come in early?
Right. That's get ready to correct. You all saw the moon last night. That is not a second phase. So his calculation or hers is off. Okay. Same thing with sun position. Sometimes the sun comes in on one date, then other months it comes in on another date. Okay, so that's why you need an ephemeris to make that determinate. That's why some people think they were born Aquarians, and actually they're Pisceans. Or they think they're Aquarians and they're Pisceans, because each month the sun is not coming into the same degree of position at the same time.
So the moon is in its first phase. It's in its first phase.
It's in the full moon state. It has to start to phase. When it phases,
started to phase.
no, when it starts to phase,
transitioning out.
when it phases, it begins to wax. I meant to do this last.
Phases
And waves.
and waves.
Can I ask the question?
Yes, dear.
Like I was at the library, so I said it's got to be more to just this, than the regular books that they
Right,
put out.
right, very good. What's your birth sign?
It's supposed to be March 10th.
I saw.
Like I was reading in there, it says if you're born on the 10th, it doesn't represent water, it represents gases. And I'm like, what?
Come on, where they get that?
No, it has a bunch of stuff like there's another book up there that I bought. not too long ago, and it tells about something about kingdoms. It's similar to them. Like Cupid, well, C-U-P-I-D, it might not be Cupid.
Yeah, that's a symbol.
You know, of the different signs.
But your element is most assuredly a water element. And there are 3 water elements that you are in triangular harmony with: Scorpio, Pisces, and Cancer. I don't know where they got the gas from.
They had something about the cups and a whole bunch of other stuff in there. It's been so long ago.
Oh, okay.
But when I read that book, it looked like I could just look at people and identify what they were. And I'm going like, I can get out of this.
That's very Piscean. Well,
let me leave this alone.
That's atypical when your own power frightens you because you don't know what it is. And the Piscean personality is considered to be the natural mystique of the solar system. Of the 12, the Pisceans tend to find a spiritual ability earlier than most. But they need the knowledge of self to verify. Otherwise, you close your faculties down. The one thing that shuts down spiritual faculties and spiritual chakras or centers is fear. The other one is anger. Of course, hatred burns them up. But it's important for us to center ourselves on this level of self-knowledge. There is nothing on this planet, in this solar system, more important for the black family than self-knowledge. It is the way out of trouble and in to blessing. And we understand this book is based on self-knowledge. And that's my gospel. Everywhere I go, that's what I'm telling folks. The book ain't about Jesus. It's about you. And what they extracted from the teachings of Jesus tells you that. But the preacher won't get the hell out of the way and put Jesus off to the side long enough to educate his congregation. It's because when you stop bowing down, then you have to stop following Reverend Biscuit. That's the dilemma he has. But then that doesn't mean you have to stop going to church, because he could change his format to a house of meditation and a house of cultural education. He could have a new church. So that's what he's supposed to be doing anyway. He's not doing it. Ain't that for the sake of tradition?
When the moon is in Libra,
That's what we're getting ready to find out right now, my brother. We're going to turn right now. Pick up your information I gave you. Turn to Moon in Libra. In fact, I want you to read it.
all right, my brother. Moon in Libra increases self-awareness, favors self-examination, and interaction with others, but discourages spontaneous initiative.
Okay. Very good. So what are we saying here?
And that's no matter what sign, sun sign.
No, it doesn't. The moon moves independently through the 12 signs at 28 and a half days.
Okay.
It doesn't matter what angle it's on in terms of its relationship to other planets. It is giving you an emotional vibration that affects the subconscious first. The moon affects our subconscious, so therefore it affects our dream states, our hallucinative states, our phobias, our fears, the dark side of human consciousness is what the moon influences most. And if you're not in control of your faculties, you'll find yourself yielding to some strange, neurotic, psychotic behavior. If you're in control of it, you still might have a neurotic, psychotic mental experience. But if you're in balance, you get a sweep of harmonious emotional vibration. When you're in harmony with yourself, the universe that you're trying to get in tune with is not out there. It's inside. Okay. The solar system you're living in is not out there. It's inside. We want to make sure we understand that. We must learn to live from inside out. To be in the world and not of it is to have control over the glands that the external world affects and influences. So when they flash their commercial on TV, you don't pop up, jump in the car, and go get a bag of crystals. Listen to the crystal. 25-cent hamburger talking. But if you're not, you'll be jumping in the car, headed for crystal. They know what they do. They know how to pull it. Because behind much of those commercials is this subliminal suggestion. And you find yourself, like the other day, just got through eating something, turn on the TV 5 minutes, and all the pizza. They trying to sell stuff, and they don't give a damn who they sell it to.